Good morning. Welcome to a very early edition of Studio C70 with our return of the student candidate interview series that we're doing before the November 4th election. My name is Justin Viller of the Committee of 70, and today we're very excited to be joined by Danny Ceisler, the Democratic Party candidate for sheriff in Bucks County. And he's going to be interviewed by Mr. Sterner's, let's see if I can get this correct, 11th grade American Government Economic Systems class. Is that what you said?
You nailed it. That's perfect.
Perfect. All right. So I will turn it over to Mr. Sterner. Thank you both very much for being here. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Zeisler, for taking time out of the campaign.
Thank you to C70.
Yeah. So thank you all for setting this up. We're very excited for the interview. So I'll turn it over in just a moment to the students. One of the things that's super exciting about this is none of them will be eligible to vote in these elections. They're not 18 yet. But this is a great way for them to be involved with civic participation at the local level. And I'm very thankful that you made yourself available for us to do this. So thank you very much, Mr. Ceisler.
Well, thank you.
All right. So I'll have our students sort of come up to the camera. I'll hop off here and we'll let them run the show. So ready to start us off? Ask Mr. Ceisler our first question.
And while our first student's coming up, I just want to thank you guys again. I know it's early in the morning, but it is so awesome that you're participating in this. I'm very excited. So let's rock.
So, how long have you thought of being a sheriff and what inspired you to run?
So I have spent kind of my whole career working in public safety. That's really been what I've done from joining the Army when I was 18 and doing counterterrorism work and then doing what's called crisis management work at the Pentagon. And then as an attorney, I represented victims of terrible things and worked on protecting them. And then I worked for our governor and helped run public safety for the state. So that's kind of what my background is. And I've always been in public safety and public service. For me, and I hate to get overly political here, but after the last election in November of 2024, I felt inspired to get more involved and more directly involved. And there were certain things that our current sheriff was doing that I was not a big fan of. And I felt I could do the job better. And so I decided to take the skill set that I developed both in public safety and in terms of leading people to accomplish public safety missions and try to make the world a better place by defeating our current sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, my question is, what was your
And what's your name?
My name's Riley.
Rylet?
Yeah,
And what was our previous
that's
name?
Evelyn.
Evelyn. Well, thank you so much for your question, Rylet. All right, let's go.
All right, my question is, what was your experience like as a soldier in Afghanistan, and what is your biggest takeaway from that time that you would like to apply to serving as sheriff?
That's an excellent question, and thank you so much. I think when you're in a combat zone, the stakes are very different than they are here. When you're dealing with life and death every day, you learn first off that you have to stay calm under pressure because getting worked up and getting stressed out doesn't help you. And the incredibly high stakes and consequences of failure in a combat zone force you to slow down and develop a sense of poise and calm under pressure. And then when you come back to the United States and you realize that basically nothing you do is life or death. Like I went to law school after I got back from Afghanistan, and people were very stressed about exams. But then once you've been dealing with so much more stressful stuff, exams aren't stressful at all, which allows you to keep calm. And I'd say that's the biggest lesson that I took away is how to remain poised, how to handle extraordinary pressure. And as sheriff, you're going to be making a lot of big decisions with a lot of significant consequences. And having done that before will help me do it again. So thank you so much for your question. Did that answer it?
Yeah.
By the way, you guys, if I don't answer your question right, feel free to ask a follow-up. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Katina.
Hi, Katina.
My question is, how does your background as a law school graduate and attorney make you a good candidate for sheriff of Bucks County?
Sure. So, I guess one thing to answer this question first, we got to talk about what the sheriff actually does. So, a lot of people think that the sheriff is a police officer, and they're kind of like the top police officer because you imagine the sheriff with the badge and the gun and all that stuff. That's not really what they are. If you call 911, it's not the sheriff coming. If there's a crime, it's not the sheriff that's investigating it or responding to it. The sheriffs are really the law enforcement arm of the courts. So it is their responsibility to make sure that the justice system runs effectively. They protect the courthouses, but they also make sure if you sue someone that gets taken care of and the papers go where they need to go. If a judge signs an order, the sheriffs make sure the judge's order is followed. So there's actually a lot of legal and interaction with the legal system and justice system. So as a lawyer, I worked with sheriffs a lot. So now being a lawyer, I will understand kind of the legal and judicial system component of the sheriff's job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Abby.
Hi, Abby.
My question is, how would you increase accountability for officers who violate departmental policies? And what steps will you take to improve public trust in the internal disciplinary process?
So that's an excellent question, and I thank you so much for that. This goes back to kind of, as I mentioned before, I have a few different sides of my life or phases of my career. There was the military, kind of the legal, and then working for the governor and helping run public safety. And in the military, I was an officer. So you have soldiers who report to you, and it's your responsibility to make sure that they do their job the right way. And if they don't do their job the right way, if they don't follow their training, if they don't follow the rules, there needs to be appropriate discipline. And I really categorize, there's kind of two categories here. There's kind of forgivable sins, and then there's unforgivable sins. And certainly if you do something so running afoul of the law, if you break the law, then you need to be disciplined because as police or as sheriffs or as law enforcement or as military, you need to be held to a very high standard so the community can trust you and have faith in you. Um, if it's a minor infraction, you do what I call progressive discipline, which is where you give a warning and then a more stern warning, and you make sure everything's written down, and then suspensions. And then if eventually someone can't meet the standards, then that leads to termination. But you give people the opportunity to improve. But to answer your question, kind of at a 30,000-foot level, people need to trust their law enforcement. And accountability is a huge part of that. So I held my soldiers accountable, and I plan to hold my deputies accountable for their work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shiley.
Hi, Shiley.
Hi. So, as senior public safety official in Governor Josh Shapiro's administration, you spearheaded the use of artificial intelligence to solve issues regarding emergency management. What is your opinion of AI personally, and would you intend to utilize it as sheriff in any capacity?
So artificial intelligence, and thank you so much for the question. Holy mackerel, is that, a can of worms. I think it's difficult to render a single opinion on it because it obviously has so much potential for good and bad. And I think unregulated artificial intelligence is one of the kind of the great threats to our future. And when I say our future, guys, I'm closer to your age than I am the current sheriff's age. So, a lot of times you hear about older politicians talking about, their kids, the future. This is our future that we're talking about. I mean, this is, artificial intelligence taking jobs and, reducing the need for manpower. It affects us directly. That said, there are certain tasks that it can make a lot easier. So I think if there are opportunities to use artificial intelligence responsibly, which is what we did in the Shapiro administration. And it can kind of make our deputies more efficient rather than replacing them and allow them to get more done and do things faster. Then I would absolutely kind of leverage the latest technology, but it has to be done in a responsible and prudent manner.
I actually am not informed on what you did in this Shapiro administration with AI. Can you talk about that for a moment for other people who may be unsure?
Yeah, so I was kind of given a mission by the administration, by Governor Shapiro and his office, to figure out how we could use artificial intelligence to improve emergency management in Pennsylvania. So what I did was I led a partnership with a group of AI researchers from top universities, mainly Carnegie Mellon, Penn State, Texas A&M were kind of some of the bigger ones. And then I partnered them with emergency management professionals. And we were trying to figure out where are areas where things take a really long time, and then where can we cut that down? So one example of that is there's different forms of AI. You guys are probably most familiar with what's called generative AI, which is like ChatGPT. You do a prompt and it makes something. Another form of AI is called discriminative AI, which is where you can plug in an enormous amount of data and it can find patterns within that data and kind of reach conclusions from that. So after a disaster, there's damage. Let's say there's a really bad flood in Bucks County and a bunch of homes are flooded. There's a bunch of damage. You have to, after that happens, identify where the damage is so then you can fix it. And that's actually harder than it sounds. It's not as easy as it sounds. It takes people driving around the county and you miss things all the time. So what we developed was a program where a drone could fly over a whole area, plug the video and photographs into an AI program that has been trained on how to identify damage. And then that would allow us to basically in a day identify damage that might take 2 weeks and we would miss things. So that's just one example of how we used AI. And believe me, I could talk about it for hours, but I think that's just one good example.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then coming up here, Mr. Ceisler will be our final student question.
That's quick.
Hi, I'm Drew.
Bro?
Drew.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is, if you weren't running for Bucks County Sheriff, what else would you want to do?
So thank you. My favorite thing to do is kind of lead men and women to accomplish missions. That's kind of what I've spent my whole career doing. I love managing teams, kind of getting the best out of the people working with me. So I would probably be looking for a management role. Look, what I was doing for Governor Shapiro, I loved. So I probably would either still be in that job or maybe working on a different mission set. So like leading initiatives related to an area outside of emergency management, probably something else in the public safety space, or maybe even another domain. But somewhere where I could lead a team to make the world a better place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Do
I'll
we
put
have
that
any guys, do we have any guys in the class?
We do, yes.
Okay,
We do
just
have
none
a few
had
guys
any
here.
questions?
So do any of the guys here or anyone else have any questions that we generated yesterday that you'd like to ask that didn't make our short list?
All right, well done, ladies. You guys, you win the day.
Yep, very nicely done. If you don't mind, could I ask you one question?
Please.
Yeah, so one of the things that I try to do, I don't know how successful I always am, is I try to impress upon my students the importance of local government and politics because our feels like an uphill battle with our news media that's usually focused on things at the federal level. The scope of the course that I teach is focused on government at the federal level. So would you be able to speak a little bit as to why you believe local government is so important to be involved with?
I would say it's the most important to be involved with. I mean, if you guys watch news, obviously you're going to see everything that the president is doing. But in America, we really have kind of four levels of government. You have federal, you have state, you have county, and then you have municipality. So local is really kind of two parts. And your life is affected the most at the lower the level, the more it affects your life on a daily basis. And that's also the biggest way to make a difference. I mean, I've spent my whole career, working in public service, and I can't change what's going on in Washington, and really no single person can. It's just such a massive operation. It's important to try, but at the local level where people's lives are really being affected, you as a 17, 18-year-old, you can really change things. I mean, you could change what your local police are doing, your local firefighters, taking care of roads, parks, recreations, the things you use on a daily basis, where you interact with government on a daily basis. Most of you guys as students are probably not dealing with the federal government at all. None of you are in Social Security, I hope, or Medicare, or none of you are in the military or federal government employees. But if you're playing in a rec center or a playground, or your parents are driving you down to school, or your literal school, your actual school, that the school board races that affect what you're doing, you can make an impact there as a student or as an 18-year-old running for something. So I do encourage all of you, get involved in some way, and it can be whatever way you like. If you care about Parks and Rec, volunteer there, or work for the Doylestown Parks and Rec department as an intern or something like that. Or if you care about the education system, I'm sure the Central Bucks School District can always use a hand with something. So that is where your life is going to be affected the most, and where you can make the biggest impact.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to that, Mr. Ceisler. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And any last questions, or just can I encourage everyone to register to vote when they turn 18?
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Guys,
More-
most of you, what, 16, 17? Drew, how old's Drew?
I'm 16.
Okay, so
16.
in 2 years, make sure as soon as you turn 18 that you're registered to vote. It's so easy to do. You can do it online. Voting is actually fun. So just make sure you do it. It's the least you can do to show that you have a voice, and can make an impact.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ceisler. Thank you much, Mr. Sterner, and your students for their questions. The election day is, 13 days away, if I'm doing my math correctly.
13 days.
So our voter registration deadline has passed, but our mail-in ballot application deadline has not passed. That is technically the 28th, but we encourage you to do that ASAP if you are planning to vote by mail and you're watching this on the live stream or the C70 voter guide. Thank you both. Mr. Ceisler, best of luck with the rest of the campaign, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all very much.